Uh-oh.
The eye. An intruder is here. I'm certain of it. Initiate your search and destroy protocol in the name of all that is glorious. Oh, it looks like the target drone's got activated and... Oh, how cute. They're engaging the export of the giant robo scorpion. Let's see the shrapnel fly.
Hostiles. Hostile target identified.
X-42! Pitiful! Crush them with your pincers!
That's all.
This is a pre-recorded attack message indicating my desire to commit violence on you.
Sneaking done. Fighting now.
Is this thing on? This is Mobius. Dr. Mobius. We're initiating some kind of emergency test shutdown. In 5,
Bad guys dealt with.
as in forbidden. 3, as in
Nobody ever notices me, but they notice the Pip-Boy light.
2 counters. 1, as in none. Oh, look, the emergency overload is initiated. Hmm? Yo! Hello there. You are there, aren't you? Forgive my confusion. So hard to tell these days. You seem familiar somehow. I'm guessing, you're here for your brain, perhaps? It's just up there. Such a nice brain, young, very bright. Little hard to see you. Can you walk into my left, right FOV cone? Ah, that's it. You're coming into focus nicely. Whoa, did I leave that on? I thought I'd powered it down. Was wondering what was causing the power outages. Oh, well, that's good. Were we supposed to fight? I certainly don't feel violent, but, well, these contraptions make it hard to tell. Really? That implies preconceived notions, theories, and a hypothesis about this meeting? Please extrapolate. What was I supposed to be like? After all, it might be worth a cognitive realignment if your theoretical Mobius is better than I. Oh, a variety of reasons. You're something of a homily. Anomaly? You're really quite special, and not in the cranially challenged way. You see, you are the most successful brain extraction experiment ever performed here at Big Mountain. A victim of your own success, as it were. If you were to go back with what your brain knows about the procedure, well, your brain could be popped back in and you could walk right out of here. Can't have brains moving around of their own volition. Do you? You seem fine without it. And does it even want to go back with you? Maybe you should ask it. It's quite independent, has all manner of opinions. Tell you what, I'll leave it up to your brain. If it wants to go, then fine. If not, well, you should respect its wishes. Oh, curiosity. I experience that less now that I know everything. Oh, maybe it was what... Oh, I tried that already. Might have Oh, I was probably tripping hard on Psycho when I sent that. Had to work. So many chems, such varieties. As for the Psycho, sometimes get the chem dispositories in my tank. Well, every scientist needs an army. Mine came to me after these How scary, I thought. But they had some... Then I thought, what if they shot energy bolts and acted as walking eyes? Then I thought about custard. I do so love custard. Was it... Did I? Maybe I did. Can't have them leaving. You and your brain are quite alike. I'm sure it... This name's as real as you or I. Although I believe someone's been watching too many old worlds. I must admit I have a vulnerability for holotape fantasies of planets and robots. Like the think tank, we were all reprogrammed to forget them, take on new names. It enforces the recursion loop in our perception programming. Now, trap is a rather harsh word, like excrement. Not an inappropriate word, but still rather harsh. But, yes, I did take some liberties with their programming. It's all right, they don't remember. I certainly didn't until you said trap, and then I said excrement, and then... The radar fence to keep the think tank... I suspect I have Plan C's in place, but I may have coded myself to forget them, just in case. So I had to do something else to keep them occupied here. Or as you like to say, trapped. I prefer to have several Plan B's, in case the A's fail. Oh, you figured it out. No pun intended. Dr. O, which is actually not his real name multiplied, since you can't multiply his real name in the first place. Ouroboros, Klein, they have all forgotten themselves. And not only themselves, but the world, sense of time and history. All that is left is what's here. I reprogrammed their chronometers, geometers, and cartography programs. This is now their world, here, Big Mountain. It was a merciful lobotomy, really, thinking back. They were my friends, but sometimes they would take things too far. And the world isn't ready for that kind of too-far thing-taking. That's my professional opinion, anyway. And I am told I was once quite professional. Really? It is so unlike me to make an error in anything I do. Well, it's simple. Despite their many failings, they are rather bright. They are the think tank for a reason. That I didn't change. Without something to distract them, make them afraid, they would simply deduce what had happened. And when they start deucing it up, then you came along, the final variable solved. They saw that their world was larger than they perceived. Bacteria, finally able to see its host. There have been other visitors to make them doubt their perceptions. You were irrefutable proof that there was a world. See, your brain had a special kind of wrinkle. Yes, very good. I should have mentats ingest you instead of the other way around. Mentats. In any event, you showed up at the think tank, and because you had suffered a cranial injury in just the right place, bullets in the head are usually much more fatal, and yours was a light case of bullet headitis. But it was enough for the autodoc in the sink to change its programming to fix the problem, and the brain extraction technology for once worked. That gave the think tank the knowledge its brains couldn't possess. With that knowledge, the procedure can be reversed. If they obtain that procedural data, they can use it to mush and modify their cranial selves into hosts to slip past the radar fence. I'm sure of it. And once they're off the reservation... Oh no, I doubt your brain would be so unreasonable. If you become friends or exist in an... Well, once the think tank was dealt with, of course, your brain is a responsible... I consider coincidence to be profanity, along with the words astrology, herbal tea, and luck. So watch it, potty mouth. My threat broadcast is designed to instill and install fear. And along with the emotional download, other data rides the fear carrier wave. It prompted them to focus on retrieving those technologies and bring them to attack me. And coincidentally, pardon my language, all those technologies are needed to put a brain, your brain, back into its skull properly. Oh, that means my plan is a total failure. That is unfortunate. Oh well, at least I tried. Indeed. The goodbye part of our little chat then. Goodbye. Please mind the equations on the floor. Electrons attached to the neutron.
Well, well, look who finally dragged themselves in out of the wasteland. And where have we been, Crawling through pits of radioactive muck again? Ah, well, as to that, you'd be surprised how hard a feminine-sounding voice modulator is to find in the Forbidden Zone. It's not as though brain-sustaining life support tanks grow on trees. I had to Ah! Yes, well, believe me, the opposite is equally true. Good Lord, have you bathed at all since they pulled me out of you? Well, I see sarcasm hasn't eluded you. Fine, perhaps now isn't the best time, but it's the principle of the thing. Oh, had I? What exactly will you do if I don't? Not put me back in that cranial dungeon you call your head? Heavens forbid. Well, that's a fine how do you do. Me! I'm not the one that makes us clamber around Technus-infested ancient vaults or go charging off to New Vegas on... And have we forgotten who got us shot in the head and buried in a shallow grave? Hmm? Do you think I enjoyed that little moment? I most certainly am not. I'm the seat of all reason and logic in our little partnership. All those feelings that motivate you, that sense of righteousness and that rush you get when you help someone, do you know where those come from? Glands. They come from glands. Free of the tyranny of your ape-like and primitive endocrine system, I can see how foolish you are. Well, maybe next time you hear me telling you that charging a nightkin... I'm not going to lie to you. The prospect is definitely not that appealing. Look at it from my perspective. Here I have peace, quiet, and safety. Well, barring the odd rogue scorpion. In your head, I've got poison, radiation, grisly injuries, and biological functions. Do you know how much more you can get done when you're not constantly looking for places to urinate? It's quite a lot, I can tell you. Overrated biological feedback. Believe me, you only feel that way because you've got all that meat. Oozing hormones. I suppose you're right. That does call certain assumptions into question, doesn't it? Indeed. Quite the conundrum. How do you suppose we resolve it? I suppose there might be some advantage to that, yes. There's a chance that the reintegration would create some improved synergy between us. Well, I suppose you've convinced me well enough. I'll rejoin your body if that's your final decision. Unfortunately, before we get to that stage of the proceedings, we have a problem. Even if I could settle myself back in your skull and reconnect all those pesky nerve endings, Dr. Mobius doesn't have the tools here. We would have to make use of Dr. Klein's lab, and I rather doubt the brains are inclined to share. And you believe them? Really? I know you were recently deprived of my fabulous advice, but... Really? Once I'm delivered into their clutches, they'll find a way past the radar fence and the whole Mojave will be their playground. And that is assuming, of course, that one of them doesn't take a fancy to our body and decide to slip his own brain into it instead. Well, I suppose I do miss those endorphin rushes when we save the day. All right. What's the plan? Right! Look out, think tank! This brain is coming out of its jar! I suppose now that we're reunited, you'll want to fill your torso up with those other meaty parts the think tank took from us. Personally, I think your upgrades are quite a bit better. But now that I'm with you, the synced autodock can plug them back in no problem. Right then, off we go. Klein will be in for a nasty shock when he realizes the pacification field won't work on a mind and body reunited.
Klein's an impatient man. Wouldn't keep him waiting. Yeah, I do. It wasn't always, oh. I just took that one by default because sometimes it's easier to accept the mistake as long as the purpose works. I don't want to get into it. It's a sore topic with me. Makes my gel ripple. Great. Psychology. Clearly the worst of the sciences, right after cholestodiuretics. Okay, so my name is an O. Never was. It was circular, a single character, digit, but not O. But even with enhanced sensors, no one here could get it right. Always kept seeing the letter, not the number. Yes, thank you. 0. I am 0. How hard is that? A narrow, thin 0. Zero's my name. I'm proud of it. Truth be told, my emotional attachment to it doesn't even register compared to just having people recognize. It's just that they're both sort of round and hollow, so when they monitor scan them, they assume that, oh, it's O. Vivisect me, please. I might as well take Dala up on that self-vivisection competition. Forget this. It's like talking to Klein's rear shell. Until our next schedule.
You should really see Dr. Klein. We're all awaiting the results of your experiment. Your primitive eyes deceive you. No, there are no needs contained within my soft gel. Much like the soft... Oh, removing it. That is a good... Why, my little bear of teddiness. I am Dr. Dala, first head chief researcher of mineralogy and medicinal sciences. I have 211 doctorates in both applied sciences and techniques to apply those sciences. I also possess a degree in curiosity and advanced curiosity. That is merely schooling, however. When possible, I prefer fieldwork and observation to holotape eidetics. It has proven useful, especially now. I have become the expert on humanology and lobotomite behavior here at Big Mountain. It's excessive examination of the human form to achieve psychological arousal. Disgusting. I would never succumb to such base appetites. Why, we create not only scientific marvels here at Big Mountain, but new sciences as well. Everything can be quantified, categorized, and dissected. What is a name without a title or suffix for the sake of hierarchy? It is a long-standing quantification of personality and importance. We could not do without it. Surely you must be aware of the gravity of such attached appellations, just as surely as you must have a title. Oh, a mailman. A delivery man. Someone who takes parcels from place to place using their primitive feet or similar conveyance. You are the second one I've met in recent times. Very different specimens. Of course. You must have met others in your travels. This one had met other couriers too, although it sounded as if he hadn't met the correct one. He asked us all many questions, and then he asked a most perplexing one. I do not know. My evaluation would be to let your own curiosity go. I do not think that Klein remembers the conversation as being satisfactory. And
The lobotomite. to lobotomize. I reckon. No.
Time to fight.
Klein awaits. So, you put down Gabe. Thank you. A scamp. In any event, thank you for putting him down. One less test. Oh, it... No! No matter... Enough! You sound like... Before you is the brain of Dr. Boros, head of animology, beastology, and DNA scrambling technology here at Big Mountain. I lay the bones and hearts of animals. I cannot...
This one looks pretty That's all. fighting over.
Klein awaits, as do... What? Why, yes, it is. And no matter how canned the food, he would always... You know, I'm having the most perplexing feeling squiggling through my biogen... Why, yes, Gabe. No matter how awful my day had been, he... And when I would talk to him about Betsy, and how Marcus would beat on me and call me Smarty's sissy pants, he'd just sit there. And if you don't mind, I'll take that bowl. For some reason, its similarity to the crater shape of Big Mountain, that, combined with my... As odd as it is, I believe that is the conclusion. And I wonder why it didn't hit me before. Until I saw that memory in your hands. This sensation is unpleasant. I don't care for it. I don't care for this place either. And I feel... Still, it is no... I do not... The lobotomite return. I recommend watching your tone with me, lobotomite. Now, you... And what could we possibly have to speak about? You have the brain, we have the technology. All you must do is surrender. With it, we can finally leave this place. I cannot tell you how boring this place gets, chopping up the landscape and everything in it. And we have so many questions to ask your brain first. About this Mojave place. A fertile testing ground for our experiments. That is the most insane thing I've ever heard. There's no way Mobius would condescend. Besides, there's no...
You speak the truth. And the decibel variation in your voice, it is Mobius. How dare you breach the think tank? And what do you want here? That's no deal at all. There's a whole world beyond the crater, filled with ideas and possibilities. We could have escaped, seen it all for ourselves, tested it, prodded at it, made it squirm. Partner with you, my foe, my rival, my foremost critic? I have a strange sensation that I would like that. How odd. Very well, partner. The think tank is at your service as long as you do not destroy us. Thank you for what you have done. I feel an odd... Oh, yes, the last visitor. Well, the one just before you. Had an interesting name from some language that's almost What did we speak about? Melon, our conversation got interrupted. Twice, I believe. Once when the trains got derailed, and then a second time. Oddly enough, now that I'm accessing my databanks, Also, we didn't brain scrub the visitor. He may have left with some knowledge he shouldn't have. Oh, well, I'm sure it's of no consequence. I don't make many mistakes in calculation or perception, so probability... Ask Boros. I believe he knows more about the fence than anybody. Mobius was involved in their construction, if I recall. But he's such a hack, he probably was...
As it had been in the years before the Great War, Big Mountain, the Big Empty, became home to one of the brightest minds of the 23rd century. The courier watched over the Big Empty for years to come, caring for it and keeping its discoveries safe until they were needed to help others. Which had always been Big Mountain's purpose. Past the laboratories and science, it had always been intended as a place to build the future of all mankind.
The courier had scoured much of the Big Empty, although secrets still remained in the crater's depths. Perhaps that was for the best, however. Curiosity, while sometimes rewarded for its efforts, often proves to be equally dangerous.
Dr. Mobius continued his research undisturbed in the Forbidden Zone. As much as he had attempted to create better scorpions, he tried the same with humanity, with considerably less success. These failures didn't bother him overmuch. Once the rush of mentats wore off, he forgot he had failed in any event. After all, the bright young mind who had come to visit him in the Forbidden Zone had already exceeded his expectations.
The sink atop the dome bustled with the voices of a small town, constantly chirping, arguing, and snarling at each other. Still, this all happened productively in the interests of its new owner. The Sync Central Intelligence Unit discovered, despite its inversion code, it was comforted by the sense of community the other personalities gave it.
The Biological Research Station, obsessed with seeding everything in sight, requested a transfer to the X-22 Botanical Garden, so that it might, in its own words, sensually fertilize the garden's smooth contours. The garden sent back a polite refusal, saying it had prior commitments with a vault it had helped infect before the war.
The book chute continued to devour all seditious materials until it nearly choked on a paperclip. It adamantly maintained it was a Chinese paperclip, and the whole thing had been an elaborately orchestrated assassination attempt. Whatever the reason, it slowed down for a while, carefully appraising each document and clipboard that came to it.
The light switches continued to bicker and flicker.
This persisted until the day someone dropped a flashlight in the sink, and the two of them united in their hatred of the showboat.
The sink continued to ruthlessly scrub any particulate matter that came near it. Eventually, it gained access to the magneto-hydraulics plant and nearly flooded all the Big Empty in an attempt to scrub the crater clean.
The toaster continued its psychotic spree, reducing all appliances in range to scrap electronics and spare parts. After one of its more psychotic episodes, however, the other sink personalities decided enough was enough and dumped the toaster in a bathtub. Sparking and hissing, the toaster swore its enemies would rue the day when they had bread and no way to toast it.
Muggy did his best to collect coffee cups, although in his quest, he accidentally trapped himself in Higgs Village. It might have been the end for poor Muggy. Except he found it peaceful there, tidying up the kitchens of the think tank professors back when they had been flesh and bone. Well, except for Dr. O, who was an asshole for having created Muggy in the first place. Muggy left O's house deliberately dirty, punishing the dishes and cups that lived there in blind revenge for serving Dr. O.
Blind-eye old Jefferson eventually discovered a new sound. Silence. It only made him more filled with the blues than before. It was rumored by the other personalities that he had a brief fling with the light switches. Although he forgot their names much too often and was soon left in the dark as punishment.
Autodoc, always gentle and methodical, kept sewing up the courier in all the right places when the skin split open from repeated wear and tear. The Autodoc was just glad to have purpose again. It heard its simpler brothers and sisters who got shipped to the Sierra Madre were bored out of their skulls in that toxic, dead city. In time, the Autodoc found a way to deactivate the Y-17 trauma harnesses, releasing the corpses they had held prisoner for almost 200 years.
As the courier ran through the X8 facility multiple times, the computers analyzed the test subject's movements. Rather than performing a superficial observation, they realized the subject barely knew what communism was, or even what a high school was. This confused them for a time, until the facility finally realized that its research had succeeded. So it let its cyber dogs out into the wastes to help protect small communities from physical aggression rather than communist propaganda.
The infiltration program in X-13 continued to scan for the subject and the stealth suit prototype long after the test was over. Frustrated and unable to find its lost technology, X-13 expanded its network of laser tripwires, sensors, and robo-brains out across Big Mountain. This glittering blue light beam forest cleanly bisected anything that entered its depths, slicing them into small segmented parts for easy disposal.
The courier, organs intact, continued onwards, a little less heavy of step, but with all the organs in the right places, as they should be. After all, brains can develop a life of their own when left to their own thoughts, and the courier's brain was more clever than most.
Dr. Klein and the think tank remained alive, unaware of the world outside. They looped through their daily routine, none the wiser about the world beyond, although perhaps wiser was the wrong word. The world outside belonged to the courier, and if anyone would shape it, well, the courier had already called dibs.
There is an expression in the wasteland, old world blues.
It refers to those so obsessed with the past they can't see the present, much less the future, for what it is.
They stare into the what was, eyes like pilot lights, guttering and spent, as the realities of their world continue on around them.
Science is a long, steady progression into the future. What may seem a sudden event often isn't felt for years, even centuries to come.
In the times following the Second Battle of Hoover Dam, however, Old World Blues took on a new meaning.
Where once it was viewed as a form of sadness, nostalgia, it became an expression describing the potential for the future.
It can be easy to see science as evil, technology unchecked as the source of all ills, all misfortunes.
With the courier at the helm, science became a beacon for the future. There was old world blues, and new world hope. And hope ruled the day at Big Mountain.
We could say more, but the stories in the Big Empty speak for themselves. Now armed with the transportal Ponder, the courier could return to the dome at any time and crack open the secrets of the Big Empty one by one. The sink sat vigilant, waiting for its master to return, shoes covered in Mojave dust. Only one road yet remained, and it was one the courier had to walk alone.
I trust matters are going. If you're planning to stay a while... If you're planning to stay a while...
Dr. Mobius's army. His Robo-Scorpions crawl...
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Ready, steady, fighting. Bad guys dealt with.